Okay, so we're gonna transfer Bryson's key image block onto his color blocks. So once you're done carving your key block, you should get yourself one of these jigs that match the thickness of your block. These are brand new. They should say 1/2 inch, 1 inch border, and they're all numbered. So when you pick a jig, always use the same jig throughout the entire process. Okay. The first thing you should do is put your key block in the jig. Get some of these squares. I'm gonna make them for you, out of Sintra. They're just like 3-inch little squares. The tape down. What you do is you lock it into place. You lock it in all around so that the block is not gonna move. It's not gonna shift. Okay, that's important. We're also going to be doing this method also for printing as well. But right now, when we transfer the key block onto the Sintra blocks, we're not going to print using the press. We're just going to do it by hand. Okay, so these are all mounted as well. Everyone will get 2 of these, one for each color, or 2 colors. So now that this is locked into place, Bryson has it locked in. He went ahead and cut some newsprint, because that's how we're going to transfer. We're going to print on newsprint, and then we're going to transfer the ink onto the color blocks. So he's going to put it in the jig, and then he's going to get 2 pieces of tape, and he's going to make a hinge. So definitely, take your time and make sure the paper is, nicely squared into the jig, which it is. Yeah, that's probably dirty for me because I did the demo earlier and now there's ink everywhere.
It's good.
Yeah. Or maybe the jig is a little slightly off.
Wipe the paper off.
It's fine. It's gonna transfer just fine.
Yeah.
So we make the hinge. That's gonna keep the paper in place. So when you lift the paper, you can put it onto the side. Then when we ink it up, the print will be on the newsprint. Then we'll change the blocks. Then we'll put this back down and transfer it onto the color blocks. So whenever you ink up your block, never ink it in the jig. This is just to set it and lock it into place. Never ink it in the jig because I don't want ink anywhere on these jigs. Okay, so remove it and put it on. You have a little ink slab going on over here. Yep. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in the jig. And it should fall right into place because we already locked it in. And he's going to slowly put the newsprint down. Definitely, yeah. And then he's going to use the Baron. These are Barons right here, which we have a container full of them. So he's going to hand burnish it. Yeah. So you should definitely always keep your one hand on it. And just apply pressure. And you should always go ahead and print on newsprint first. Should cut 3 pieces of newsprint. The first one is just to print because there's no ink on the block whatsoever. So you should definitely practice first. Then we're going to ink the block up again, print on newsprint again, but this time we're going to actually transfer the image onto the color blocks. But the first one is usually the lightest because there's no ink whatsoever on the block. And you can always take a peek and see, there's the print's looking like. So first one's usually the lightest. I would always start with just doing it on newsprint, So we're gonna go ahead and remove this one. Now the next time he inks up, it's gonna be even darker because there'll be more ink on it. So we can remove this newsprint altogether. We'll set up another one because you should have 3 pieces. This one is just definitely practice, and the first one is always the lightest, so we don't transfer that one onto the block. So we'll put that in the drying rack. So now let's get another piece of newsprint and let's go ahead and hinge it on there. And we'll remove the block again to ink it up. That looks good. Nicely squared. Yeah, that looks good. Good. So now he's going to ink up his block again. So if you want the ink to dry faster, we do have some modifiers. So this is a cobalt dryer. You should always use eyedrop tool to take it out because it's very viscous. Like it comes out really fast. So do not pour it straight out of here. But whenever you use modifiers with ink, you should never put the ink back in the can. Okay, you do not want to contaminate this with any modifiers. You should definitely, add more ink to your slab.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure your brayer is nicely charged with ink. So I showed you, what it should look like on the slab and how it should sound. That way you know there's ink on the brayer. Now, charge it up, always do a couple of passes. Don't be afraid to put more ink down. It doesn't hurt. As long as you, put an even coat and not, a ton of ink on the brayer. You can already tell that there's ink on there this time around instead of the first time where, it was very light. But now there's already a layer of ink from the first time we inked it. We're adding a couple more, and we recharged our, put more ink on our slab. So now there's more ink. So now we're going to go ahead and move the newsprint. There you go. So it's already hinged, so it's ready to drop exactly where we want it. We put the block, lock it in, so it shouldn't shift. Now we'll put the newsprint. Now with the Baron, we're going to go ahead and print to the newsprint. There's like different ways you can use. You can hand burnish with the Baron. This type of Baron, there's different types of Barons that people sell, or you can use like a wooden spoon. So you can definitely print at home using this method. Let's go ahead and take a peek. Should be a better print than the first time. So we're gonna go ahead and leave it there on, hinged all the way out to the side, because we're gonna change the blocks now with one of the color blocks. So what we're doing is we're printing onto this newsprint, and then we're gonna transfer that onto the blank color block. Now that's locked into place. Now he's gonna hinge it back, and it should line up. Now he's gonna add pressure again with the Baren, and that's gonna transfer the ink onto the color block. And it doesn't have to be like an amazing print on the color block. You just need it as a guide, so you know where you want your colors to go. And before you carve it, you should let it dry. Just enough so you don't smear it everywhere. And it shouldn't take too long because it's not oil-based ink, so it'll dry faster. Okay, let's go ahead and now he knows, if he wants the background to be a certain color, he'll carve out the figure. If he wants the figure to be a color, he'll carve out the background. So you're just basically leaving a shape to apply color. And he's going to do the same thing. He's going to ink up his key image. He's going to do the same thing and transfer it onto the second block. And then I'm going to go ahead and do like a demo on what to look for when you're carving for your color block, and how to set up on the press to do a 3-color run. Okay, so that's how you transfer to your color blocks.